On Friday afternoon, while the country was busy with the NBA playoffs, Aliyah Boston signed the biggest contract in the history of this league. 4 years, $6.3 million. And that signature, the one Herb Simon stood there smiling about, didn't just make Boston the richest player in WNBA history. It ended Sophie Cunningham's future with the Indiana Fever, a number no player has ever seen before. Not Aja Wilson, not Breanna Stewart, not even Diana Taurasi at the peak of her career. And it's the number that pushes Sophie Cunningham out the door. Stay with me, because this one is worse than it looks. Here's what the press release didn't tell you. Boston's contract is the first deal ever signed under the WNBA's brand new EPIC provision, the Exceptional Performance on Initial Contract Clause, written into the 2026 Collective Bargaining Agreement. It lets a player on a rookie deal skip straight to supermax money. Boston is player number 1 to use it. And what it buys her is 20% of the Fever's salary cap every year, from 2027 through 2029. In real money, that's about $1,400,000. Every season. Kelsey Mitchell, she's already got her supermax, another 20%. And Caitlin Clark? She's up next, eligible for her own supermax in 2027. And nobody in that front office is stupid enough to let her walk out of Indianapolis. 3 players, 60% of the cap. Before the Fever fill out the rest of the roster, before they sign a single bench piece, before they draft a single rookie, before they pay the water girl. Which brings us to Sophie Cunningham, signed to a 1-year deal just 2 weeks ago. Lexi Hull, same situation, 1 year. Take it or leave it. When that 1 year's over, neither one of them fits in the math anymore. And Herb Simon knew that when he handed them the pen. Now, before we follow the paper trail, understand where these Indiana Fever actually are. They won the Commissioner's Cup last summer, ran through Minnesota to take the trophy, made the semifinals without Caitlin Clark for most of the year, and came within 1 win of the WNBA Finals. This is a team with its championship window wide open today, which is what makes the next 3 years so painful. Follow the paper trail with me. In 2027, 14 months from today, the Fever will owe Boston and Mitchell about $2.8 million combined. That's before Clark's extension. That's before any rookie-scale contract. That's before a single minimum salary signing. When Clark inks her supermax, and she will, the Fever's top 3 players will eat roughly 37% of the cap. By 2028, 40% for 3 players, in a league where the team salary cap is $7 million. That's it, $7 million total for the whole roster. You don't need a calculator to see what's missing from that equation. Sophie Cunningham makes somewhere around the league average, call it $500,000, and she's worth every penny. She's the enforcer. She's the one who stood up when Caitlin Clark got knocked to the floor. She's the one who took the technicals, the suspensions, the fines, because somebody had to protect the face of the franchise. But $500,000 in the 2027 Indiana Fever cap sheet is a luxury Herb Simon has already decided he can't afford. He didn't say it at the press conference. He didn't have to. The contract said it for him. $6.3 million, 4 years, 20% of the cap, and a one-way ticket out of Indianapolis for the woman who's been diving on the floor for Caitlin Clark for 2 straight seasons. If you've been watching the Indiana Fever since the Tamika Catchings era, you've seen this movie before. Back in 2012, Lin Dunn on the sideline, Tamika Catchings in the middle, Katie Douglas hitting every big shot from the wing. The Fever won the only championship this franchise has ever seen. Beat the Minnesota Lynx 3-1. Tamika got Finals MVP. Katie Douglas got the parade. And Herb Simon, sitting in the owner's suite at the old Conseco Fieldhouse, had a reputation across the league. He paid his stars, he kept the marquee names, and he let the glue guys walk. Katie Douglas, gone a year later. Tammy Sutton-Brown, gone. Jessica Davenport, gone. Role players who bled Fever blue and finished their careers somewhere else, because Indianapolis had already spent the money on the names above the marquee. Even Lin Dunn, the coach who won him that championship, was out of the head job within 2 years of cutting down the nets. It's the same playbook the Utah Jazz ran back in the Stockton and Malone days. You lock up the franchise guys, you cycle through everybody else. When the enforcer gets expensive, you find yourself a new enforcer. Sophie Cunningham is this era's version of that role player. The heart, the toughness, the identity. And Herb Simon is running the same playbook he's been running since the Clinton administration. The only difference is the dollar amount. In Catchings' day, the whole Fever roster made less than Aliyah Boston will make in one season of her new deal. The league got bigger, the contracts got bigger, and Herb Simon kept his wallet exactly where it's always been. Here's what makes this worse. Sophie knows. Of course she knows. She signed that one-year deal with her eyes wide open. She saw the cap sheet. She knew what Boston's extension was going to look like before the ink dried, which means the 2026 Indiana Fever season isn't a championship run. For Sophie Cunningham, it's an audition tape. And head coach Stephanie White is the one who has to hand her the minutes. White knows what's coming after this year just as well as Sophie does. She's coached enough rosters in this league to read a cap sheet. Every hard minute she gives Sophie in 2026 is a minute that helps her walk into Phoenix, or New York, or Seattle with film the next front office wants to see. Every screen she sets, every loose ball she chases, every hard foul she takes to protect Caitlin Clark. It's all being filmed for general managers in 3 cities that aren't Indianapolis. Remember, Sophie went on her own podcast back in February and pointed at exactly those 3 teams. She said Phoenix, New York, and Seattle were the owners who actually spend money on their players. She named them. And she didn't name Indiana. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was a resume being sent out, live on the record 3 months before Boston's deal was even announced. Sophie saw this coming, and Caitlin Clark knows too. When Boston's deal broke on Friday, Clark posted 3 words on Twitter. Absolutely, congrats AB. 4 exclamation points. Nothing about the cap. Nothing about the roster. Because what's she supposed to say? Congrats, Aliyah. There goes my enforcer. Congrats, Aliyah. Hope you enjoy guarding the paint by yourself in 2027. Clark knows the math. She knows the business. And she knows the woman who's been diving on the floor for her for 2 seasons is playing her last year in a Fever uniform. So here's what to watch for this season. Every time Sophie Cunningham takes the court in Indianapolis, you're watching a farewell tour. Every tough guy foul, every hard hat play, every moment she steps between Caitlin Clark and trouble, that's the last one. Because when the 2026 season ends, Herb Simon's math ends her time with this team. The $6.3 million contract Aliyah Boston signed on Friday wasn't just a record. It was an eviction notice, and Sophie Cunningham's name is on it.